Okay, I'm back. And I was correct. There was somebody trying to reach me about doing the world premiere of that movie I was talking about in the previous, 2 videos ago. So that's good. Hopefully we'll get that all worked out, and my 8th movie, which might be my last movie, will have an opening here in my area, which is Fort Wayne, Indiana. Have a little theatrical run. That would be a good thing. Oh, particularly because the cast is, well, other than Sean Young. Who's Sean Young, you say? Okay, I'll tell you who Sean Young is. Did you ever see Blade Runner? There you go. Blade Runner, or Ace Ventura. She's a bit of a controversial figure, actually, because she's kind of a conspiracy theorist kind of person, but but that's Sean, whose real name is Mary. But yeah, Mary came in and played a role in my most recent picture, and so she's I would be pretty surprised if she showed up for the premiere. But anyway, so here we go. Let's see. But it was pretty funny because we work with a pretty small crew, and I remember I was having okay, this is a funny story. So I'm having dinner with Sean Young, right? We're gonna be shooting the next day. She says to me, she's like, "So what about the makeup person?" I'm like, "Mary, you can do your own makeup." She's like, "Oh, well, what about the wardrobe?" I'm like, Mary, you brought some clothes, right? You're fine." She's like, "Really?" So she was a little freaked out, because we're gonna shoot a movie and there ain't no crew, man. And I'm gonna tell you something. The first scenes we shot, literally, that was shot in a tax store. Actually, to be, I hope you guys don't mind me diverting in this direction, but I'll just show you here what I'm talking about. Okay, so I got to pull up I'll pull up the screener. This screener has like a disclaimer in it, but you'll see right here. That's Sean Young. Okay, so we shot it in this gorgeous tax store, but the funny thing about it was there was no crew. There was no nothing. I mean, it was just me and Mary and the other actress, and I don't even know if that day there was even one other helper on the set. And Valerie's telling me there wasn't. I don't remember, but later Mary said she had a great time. It was it was really a lot of fun because there was no waiting around. With most of these Hollywood pictures, these actors, they go and they sit in their trailer for hours at a time. Just yeah. And Valerie's talking to me now, and she's saying, they usually have to do umpteen quadzillion takes, and it's just not that fun. It really. And that's fine. I mean, they're an actor. They're being paid to do a job, and it's a job. But no, she actually had a lot of fun. It moved really fast. I had another actor on the predecessor to this movie, because this movie's Healed by Grace 2. On Healed by Grace 1, we had an actor come in from Chicago. And it's kind of a sad story, because Tommy had just gotten a deal to do the NBC TV show The Playboy Club, if you remember that show. So he had just been booked to do that show. But he had committed to do our movie like a couple days before he got cast in the Playboy Club. So then it became a big problem because now he's got to join the union. He's out of Chicago, and the show was actually shot in Chicago. So essentially, NBC gave him sort of a special dispensation, if you will. Gave him permission to do this little jerkwater horse movie before going ahead and gearing up to do the Playboy Club. Well, the sad part of the story is, and Tommy would probably kill me for telling this story on it, but the sad part of the story is that he was in, I think, the fourth episode of the show, and that show got canceled after 3 episodes. So he never actually got on network television, and I don't know if he's gotten any similar, respectable parts since then, but it was definitely pretty disappointing for him. But anyway, so a lot of times when you're doing these sticks and balls things, you just sort of do little lines and dots and then triangles to sort of just map out how things are going to move. This is her arm, so we're going to have a kind of a triangle here, and that'll just be our guide. So anyway, yeah, Mary had a good time, but truth be told, I was kind of lazy about getting the movie out, so we actually shot it 3 years ago, so it's been a while, and it's only now being released. But anyway, kind of a funny story, I guess. But when I started making movies, I really, the thing about making movies is it was really about the challenge of writing the script, directing the actors, sort of making distinctions about what, it's like this anime, you think about what makes the timing work. A lot of times it's the holds, in other words, it's the way she does this motion, but then it holds and it gives your audience a moment to sort of digest what's happening. Those, to me, the challenge of that was always kind of interesting. And of course, you want to be successful. You want to, make some money or whatever. And like I said, Healed by Grace did just fine. But once the creative challenge of mainly the writing, I mean, that's probably the thing that's the most fun. It's more fun than shooting. Shooting's quite exhausting, actually. Truth be known, people don't realize that shooting a movie is a really exhausting process, especially for a low budget project, because there's so much responsibility on so few people, and it's really my responsibility to make sure that you're paying for actors all day. Everything's, it's like money's going out, so you want to really have things planned carefully. So those of you who've been following me for a while on YouTube, you know that I've wasted, most of a year just dinking around with figuring out animation workflow. Well, the reason is because we want to get the best quality result, but we do want to do it somewhat efficiently. I mean, essentially, this is being animated. I mean, it's being written by 2 people, and for all practical purposes, animated by 1. Me. Okay. Now, if we do a quality job on this project, we're probably going to create, like a 5-minute proof of concept. So while the story is being written, not just the episode, but actually the whole scope of the epic is being planned out, what's going to be done in finished form will probably be somewhat shorter, so that we can try to demonstrate that we're able to tell a story that competes toe-to-toe, with other anime that you might watch, and hopefully develop, an audience. And if we can do that, then we have a little bit of ammunition to go to, whoever, Netflix, let's say, and say, look, it'd be like being in a rock band. If you're a rock band, if you're a musician out there, and you might know this, if you understand how record labels have always worked, there's nothing it's really not that great of a thing to get a record contract, truthfully. Because the record label, what they do is they give you an advance. Let's say they give you a $100,000 advance. They say, well, you got your record contract. So you got a $100,000 advance to make an album. But there's a catch. And the catch is you have to use our studios to create the album. So now you're booking time in a recording studio. And you're spending money like it's going out of style. And now you think you're hot stuff because you got a record contract, right? And so you're buying fine wine and having parties every day after you're done in the studio, and you're bleeding through that $100,000. Well, I come to find out, once that record is created, guess what? That $100,000 was not just a stipend, and it wasn't a bonus or a salary. That $100,000 was an advance against record sales. So that means you have to pay the $100,000 back. And you're going to pay the $100,000 back out of your record sales. Okay? So that was never your money in the first place. And if you have to record it in the studio's chosen, or the record label's chosen studios and all that, they're essentially taking that money and paying themselves to create the album, and then taking the $100,000 back out of the record sales before you ever see a penny. I remember hearing interviews this would be back in the 80s. I remember hearing Kevin Cronin talking about the early days of REO Speedwagon, talking how we'd go out and we'd make $100,000 a year and never see a penny, this sort of thing. This is back in the 80s when a dollar was worth more than it is today, right? Well, that makes perfect sense if you know how it works. So anyway, if you're in the business of music and you want to get a deal with a record label and you want to have any negotiating power, the most important thing is you want to be able to demonstrate to that record label in advance that you are a saleable property, that you already know how to make money. Now, the irony of that, especially in the day of the in the age of the internet, is that if you have demonstrated how to make money with your music, the truth is you don't need the record label. Okay? But a lot of young musicians still think it's really a cool thing to get a record contract. It's kind of a joke. Honestly, the only thing the record label brings to the table that has any value today really is promotion. If they're good marketers and good promoters, it's worth a look. Technically, in terms of creating a quality product and going in the studio and all that stuff, it's kind of a joke, really. That's my opinion. Other people may disagree. But, what'd you say over there? It's a joke. Yeah. So, I've been in the music business for, I'm pushing 30 years, and we do radio jingles and stuff like that. In addition to scoring the movies and things like that. If you watch Healed by Grace, there's a bunch of songs in there that are, we sort of paralleled the style of Taylor Swift, I think, on a lot of the songs back when she was more of a country artist than she is today. And, it's so anyway, I've kind of been around the block with the whole music thing, and we still, I think I talked about it in an earlier video just maybe yesterday about, the jingle business. It might have been today, actually. But we're still doing that. We create a jingle, and it costs the client generally somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000, and it can be a fine business. There's nothing wrong with being in the music business. But the old rock star thing can be a little deceptive, to the young artist who is naive about how it works. So my point was that the best thing you can do if you want to succeed in the music industry is to go out and do shows so that you can demonstrate to a record label that you already have been able to sell, let's just say, $10,000 worth of CDs and T-shirts, and you've built up a following. That gives you some leverage in that negotiation. How did I get on that topic? Do you remember, Valerie? I don't even know how I got on that, but that's what you need to do. Which is, by the way, the reason I don't gig anymore.
From the anime about.
Oh, we were talking about the anime. Yeah, so with the anime, it's a little different today. The idea with the anime, and I'm going to be perfectly transparent about what our business plan is, because anyone could do this. It's just, trust me, folks, it's a lot of work. But if you have the talent and the drive and you develop the skill, anybody could do it. But the idea is, let's create several minutes of animation that show that, this is good. This is of a quality that's comparable to anything else you're going to find. And then hopefully also in conjunction with that, begin to build an audience, maybe by issuing 5-minute episodes on YouTube. Who knows? Maybe that's how we'll do it. And if that audience begins to grab, just like, I don't have a lot of YouTube subscribers, but they are increasing every day. So there's something about this content that people like. Okay, so as what we're doing becomes a viable product, then we have a little more leverage to go and talk to a major distributor and say, look, we've proven that people want the product, that people want to see it. If that's the case, you're in a lot better position to get a more favorable distribution opportunity. Well, the truth is you probably wouldn't get the opportunity at all. Now, of course, you could just release it online and you could set up the infrastructure pretty easily to charge people $2 or whatever to watch whatever it is you're showing. I could do that with my movie. I could release it and charge people $2 and not go through Amazon or anybody else. The problem is nobody knows it's there. Nobody knows it exists. The problem is promotion. Gaining critical mass awareness that your product even exists. That's the challenge, And it is a challenge. It's something you pretty much need to sort of devote yourself to solving that problem, because the way I say it, any business that you're going to get into, no matter what it is, you want to give it somewhere between 6 months and 2 years just to find out if it's going to work, just to find out if it's a viable business concept. And if you have a concept for a business, whatever it is you want to do, if you're a young person, by all means, I encourage you, try it. Especially when you're young. What's the cost of failure? So you fail. I mean, you really don't have anything to lose when you're young, right? So get out there and try. And if you fail, you fail. Then just try again. Try something different. It's not a big deal. It's not consequential, really. But if you're like me, when I was your age, if you're a young person, for me, because I'm so artsy-fartsy, the problem is everything was consequential. And that harmed me in my life. I put too much worry or concern about about being good enough or whatever. And I've learned that there's more to it than that, especially with any business. And there's 3 things about any business. There's basically 3 things. There's number 1 is the quality of what you do. Number 2 is the price of what you do, and number 3 is the kind of person you are. Like, are you a good communicator? Do you comport yourself well with people? That sort of thing. The truth is, if you do one of the 3 things well, you'll be okay. If you do 2 of the 3 things well, you'll probably be, pretty successful. If you do all 3 well, if you're fast and you're good and you're affordable, you're very competitive, and you're a quality person who, as I said, the most important thing is communicate well. You're unstoppable, actually. I mean, really, you will be successful, but be aware it's going to take you between 6 months and 2 years to get that business up and running. It just is what it is. There's really not much of a shortcut for that. It's just the nature of how business goes, So, anyway, I digress. I'm just working on drawing a Kari, flipping over. So it's all pretty cool stuff. It's fun, but it doesn't really make me happy. Even when I'm successful, when things go well, even that doesn't really make me happy. What makes me happy is just doing what I'm doing right now. Just doing it. You gotta like the work. You gotta like the grunt work of it. And is there anything I'm missing here, Valerie? My soulmate and partner over there is listening to me rant and rave like an idiot. She's used to it. But, these are just lessons you learn when you're a little older, like I am. think about this stuff. Well, mainly because, I have a 15-year-old son who, out of the blue one day, he says, this jingle thing, I think that's might be what I want to do, Dad. And I said, okay, let's start a new jingle business, and we did. And if you go to jingles.us, it's actually kind of a little bit of a sneaky thing, because what I did was I actually just bounce it to a subpage within my site. So if I go to jingles.us, it just goes to this page under Premiere Media Design. But if you click this link right here, you can actually listen to the demo of different music that we've created and stuff like that. So, and it's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's have fun. And if we succeed, we succeed. If we fail, we fail. And so far, it's going pretty well. So, what are you looking at? Oh, I got to pause. Unfortunately, the screen recorder doesn't allow me to pause, and it's been 20 minutes, but I got 2 videos that are each 20 minutes long-ish. So what I'm going to do is glue these 2 together and probably pick it up again tomorrow. So, see you later, folks.